Hi folks, welcome back. I'm Kayaoğlu. So one of the unintended consequences of Israel's September 9 attack against the Gulf country of Qatar has been to trigger a security and defense pact between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. The latter, of course, is the world's only Muslim majority country with nuclear weapons. The Saudi-Pak pact is apparently quite similar to NATO's Article 5. An attack on one is an attack against both. Now, it'll probably be some time before we know whether or not the kingdom has placed Pakistani nuclear weapons on its territory. That is, of course, if it hasn't done so already. For now, let's look at why and how Pakistan obtained a sizable nuclear arsenal. As all things in the modern world, it was China's fault. I'm joking about everything being China's fault, but in this instance, the spread of nuclear weapons to South Asia, proliferation in South Asia was largely on Beijing. They kind of started it. Following China's 1949 Communist Revolution, the Soviet Union acted as something of a big brother to Beijing. Besides economic and technical cooperation, the Soviets also gave reactor and even warhead designs to the Chinese. One happy commie family. But the two sides had a falling out in the late 1950s over which one was a better communist, the so-called Sino-Soviet split. So China went its way. And then Beijing detonated its first fission bomb in 1964, some 19 years after that fateful test explosion in the New Mexico desert, as well as the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. And then in 1967, China detonated its first hydrogen bomb, its first thermonuclear device. Those are, as you may know, much more powerful than standard fission bombs. Now, as today, in the 1960s, China and India had considerable territorial disputes. They had fought a serious war in the Himalayas in October 62, with China losing considerable ground. So Beijing's pursuit of nuclear weapons triggered a similar reaction in New Delhi. The Indians started their own nuclear weapons program and detonated their first bomb in 1974. And I kid you not, the bomb was called Smiling Buddha, naming a nuclear weapon after a man, a divine figure who preached inner and universal peace is really my level of sick comedy. Well played, India. Meanwhile, Pakistan lost its eastern possessions, which would become the country of Bangladesh, in a war with India in 1971. And then the Pakistanis realized what their Indian neighbors were up to with nukes, and that no one was coming to Islamabad's aid. So the Pakistanis started their own nuclear program. Though neither Islamabad nor New Delhi did not detonate any weapons from the first Indian test in 1974 until a mutual showdown that the two countries, Pakistan and India, had in 1998. So that's the why in a nutshell. China decides to build nuclear weapons for fear of capitalist United States, but also its fellow commie Soviet Union. Looking at China, India decides it wants nuclear weapons. And looking at India, Pakistan knows that it cannot do without nuclear weapons. Now, the how of Pakistan's nuclear weapons program is even more interesting than the why, and it really proves the maxim, where there's a will, there's a way. Following the 1971 defeat against India, Pakistani Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto declared that his country would develop nuclear weapons even if it meant Pakistanis had to eat grass. Bhutto ended up getting overthrown in a military coup in 1977, and although he was executed by the putschists who overthrew him, Pakistan's nuclear program continued. And when you come to think of it, for a country that had just lost more than half of its population in the form of then East Pakistan, later on Bangladesh, it was quite impressive that Pakistan could develop nuclear weapons so quickly, and it was already a poor country to begin with. And for that, Pakistanis often thank That's not Khan Noonian Singh, but Abdul Qadir Khan, often dubbed the father of Pakistan's nuclear program. In the early 1970s, Khan had begun working as a metallurgist at a Netherlands-based uranium enrichment facility called Urenco. Khan stole centrifuge designs on behalf of his homeland that were later on used for enriching uranium. The Dutch realized that some specs, some blueprints were missing, and they trained their eyes on A.Q. Khan. putting him into a more passive position in 1974, but Khan returned to his homeland in late 1975 and pretty much assumed command of his country's uranium enrichment program. And A.Q. Khan, despite various different changes in government within his country, kept a prominent position and received a lot of resources to make the bomb, the device, as it was also called, possible. Now, the important thing to note here is that Abdulkadir Khan is not quite Pakistan's Oppenheimer. He didn't do a lot of the things that Opie did, including getting a little too friendly with women who were not his wife or were his friends' wives. Pakistan already had well-established and older physicists, including Muhammad Raziuddin Siddiqui, who himself worked at the Cavendish Laboratories at Cambridge in the 1930s, and Siddiqui was a theoretical physicist, very important position. Likewise, Munir Ahmed Khan pursued the plutonium route, so Pakistan had a parallel plutonium route to get to the bomb. But not unlike J. Robert Oppenheimer, A.Q. Khan also got his fair share of infamy towards the end of his story. Around 2004, the United States discovered and announced that the Pakistani nuclear genius had ran a proliferation network that saw him sell blueprint designs to the likes of Iran, Libya, and North Korea, which led to him becoming the subject of more Star Trek puns, which, as an old Star Trek fan, I wholeheartedly approve. And that's why and how Pakistan got nuclear weapons. Although it should be noted that the country is not just doing nuclear physics for the sake of weapons. It has a robust nuclear energy industry, producing, I think, about 3,500 megawatts of electricity and providing for about 27% of the country's energy needs. Today, neither Pakistan nor India are parties to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty of 1968, and they are both thought to have about 170 to 180 nuclear warheads, mostly deliverable by missiles with very pointy tops, although Pakistan's look pointier and therefore scarier.
It is too round on the top, it needs to be pointy. Round is not scary. Pointy is scary. This will put a smile on the faces of the enemy.
Well, that's it for me, folks. It's now your turn. What do you think about the possibility of nuclear proliferation as it happened in Asia, as it happened in South Asia, taking place in the Middle East, in the Persian Gulf, in North Africa? I hope it doesn't happen, but what do you think? Let everyone know in the comments below. And kindly like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications. Thank you very much. I'll see you again soon.